Welcome to the virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Please welcome to your screen, Suzette Veneti.
Hi, everybody. It's 5:03. It's a Sunday, and that means it's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. What is it, June 20th? Which means the United States just celebrated its first official Juneteenth, and California's out of COVID for 5 days now, COVID restrictions. So, yeah, things are, being things. Welcome to the Suzette Veneti Show, the only talk show that's hosted by a Suzette Veneti. Hopefully there's not another, because that might make her upset. I don't know. Let's get going with the show. Not much of a monologue. And now I can't get it to pull up. Oh, here we go. 8 states, Alabama, Arkansas, Hawaii, Missouri, Nevada, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming, all have below average vaccination rates and unsurprisingly have the highest new infection rates. That's because if you don't get vaccinated, you do get infected. You'll contract the virus. Also, 8 states, Alabama, Arkansas, Hawaii, Missouri, Nevada, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming, unsurprisingly came in last in educational statistics as far as their state is concerned. That's the entire monologue, because I keep getting news just about the MCU because I'm into Loki, which is really good. Yeah, that and any sports that I follow. So I'm sorry I don't have more jokes. I need to figure out how to get my Google app to give me news, because when you type news into Google, it doesn't give you much. Well, it does, but it's like too much. Just waiting on a contributor to pop in. Wishing I had more monologue jokes for you. Hoping you're having a good Sunday out there. In California, it's really hot. It's like 110 plus. We're I don't even know what we're more than triple digits, because triple digits could be like 100, 102. It's like 115. It's really hot out here. Jesse, how was Under the Stars last night?
Oh, it was good. It was Scene Kids. So a little bit of improv back here for the first time in person for a little bit, so that was fun.
Was there a good turnout?
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it was hot. It was sort of the first weekend of people being able to go out freely. So the crowds were spread out all over the city, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a little weird at brunch today. We didn't have as full of a crowd.
Yeah.
And so we wondered if maybe that's because people can go anywhere they want now.
Well, that was what I imagined, is that it's largely all the options have been sort of reopened. So, yeah, I'm sure people are just going to be hitting a lot of places they haven't been able to go to in a bit. And then we'll get back to some form of normal. But it was a lot of fun last night.
And that was Scene Kids, which
yes.
is a really cool show where 2 actors go on. One of them is an improv actor. Well, they're both improv actors. One has a script, as though they were a scripted actor, and one is improving the other half of the scene. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So from TV, movies, plays, even songs. I think there was 1 or 2 of those last night. Basically, one half of a scene is memorized, going off the script, one actor, and like you say, the other actor just has to improvise what they're being given. So it's always a lot of fun.
That is a lot of fun. I feel like sometimes that's how these interviews go, where sure. I know where we're going, or sometimes the guest knows where they're going, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's figure it out. We don't have any Clifton today. He's doing a wrestling thing.
Mm-hmm.
We do have Chelsea, but she must be having technical difficulties as she's not logged in yet. And our interview guest is a great interview guest, but they're also not logged in yet. So we're just going to figure out a way to keep you guys entertained for a couple more minutes, and hopefully someone logs in. So, yeah. Do you know what's next under the stars for Stab?
Next Saturday is going to be the Body Posse comedy show. So the first time that they've actually been in person, I believe. I'm pretty sure that show started virtual.
Oh.
So that'll probably be, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, I think that'll be their actual first in-person, or they might have had one right before. I don't know. It's all a blur. It's been
Right.
15 months.
If I recall, they might have had one, but it's hard
Hard to say.
And that's next Saturday.
Yes.
So you're breaking your pattern of every other Saturday.
No, we started we started one, like the first one that we did with the Kelps. We just gave ourselves an extra week between that one and the next one. But this Saturday was Seeing Kids. The Saturday before that was the Buddy Love show that you were on.
It was.
So,
I had a lot of fun.
So we did have back-to-back.
Okay.
And it's going to be regular Saturday night. We're working on putting together our new schedule here, figuring out what's live in person, what's still streaming, what's streaming in person, all these things.
Yeah, because that's an interesting thing, I think, to come out of the pandemic is some shows can exist streaming and in person.
Yeah.
I hope this one can. And then we had Brittany Brave on, and Chelsea may have talked about her show where they read tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sounds like a really good streaming show. But I think if you can't see the card, it's not quite as much fun to be in the audience.
Sure.
I would love to see it live to see what I think, but I definitely know that it's a good streaming show.
So I saw that you sent here to Chelsea. Did you have to send to
Shay D? I sent
Shay D,
it. Yeah, I sent it on Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully Shay D will be on soon. Shay D is the interview guest, the season 3 winner of Maxx Drag. So we're excited to have Shay D on. They are a talented drag performer in Sacramento. Yeah, the bar the other night was open, and very crowded. I think my story gave people anxiety from how crowded it was.
I think I did see one picture of, I want to say Badlands, and it was, that was a lot.
I think because I've been doing brunch, I think maybe I'm on the desensitized to it, but I can imagine if you haven't been around people for 15 months, it would feel like a lot.
Well, I mean, a full house is,
Yeah. Wednesday was definitely a full house. Friday was pretty full. I performed on Friday, and then today definitely broke our sellout streak.
Well,
Yeah.
Now that's going to happen again 4 days, 5 days after opening up the city. There's going to be people all over the place where their options might have been limited to last week. Now they're just going to run out and see some of the things they've been missing for a while, but it'll come back. It'll even back out. Everybody will redistribute. So,
yeah, I think so. It's kind of like I guess no, it's the opposite. I was gonna say it's like a new restaurant opening, and then they get a busy bump, but it's not exactly like that. It's
like that for all of the people that weren't, or all the places that weren't able to be open for a while. So
okay.
So the places that have been, like brunch, are just having those regulars go back to other places that are essentially reopening for the first time. So that's their bump, and it's sort of our loss for, we've been here, and now people get to go other places, but it'll all even back out again.
Do you have any new fun programming that you're looking forward to getting going?
Not specific. I mean, there's a handful. I have so many projects that I've wanted to get going, and hopefully I'll be able to settle into it because I'm going to have to fill out the schedule a little bit more. Not that anybody's really going away yet, but we're just seeing who's gonna keep doing their shows and who's gonna be doing something else, or if they'll be continuing at all. I don't know. We're going to be taking a bunch of the stuff that was happening before we had to shut down, and a bunch of the stuff that came along during the shutdown, and building a whole new schedule out of all of that, in addition to a bunch of stuff that I had been wanting to trot out and just hadn't gotten to.
Yeah, I know. Yaya was here the other night when I did the Dr. Buddy show Under the Stars, and is so excited for just getting back to producing and maybe coming up with something new, something old.
Yeah.
Because I know I can speak for Yaya and I. We both love this space and are so grateful and excited to do things here. So we can't wait.
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to that.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a big change, but it's been big changes after big changes. So it's unfortunately nothing new around here. We'd like to keep it, regular for a while instead of having to change everything every year and a half or so.
Right. Well, and then throwing a pandemic in, and like you don't know what's going to happen because everything's in flux. So, okay, folks at home, we're not going to have Chelsea. She's not home yet. She was driving home, stuck in traffic. But Shay D is logging in very shortly. So thank you for bearing with me. The technical difficulties of doing a live streaming show sometimes surprise you, and that's definitely what this is. But we're trying to make it work, so hang tight, and we'll have our interview soon. So if you've tuned in to see Shay D, they will be here shortly, and we'll get going with that. In the meantime, Clifton will be here next week, I believe, and Chelsea will. And I'll have Emma Haney on the show, which I'm really excited to interview Emma Haney, a local comedian, and possibly thinking about trying drag, which is always fun to talk to someone who's going to try something new. You get a really fresh take on it. And if you go back, I don't even remember which episode. It was maybe November. We talked about that. She was just in studio and on the show, and she said she wanted to try drag, and I think she might finally be ready to dip her toe into that water. So that'll be fun to kind of check in with her, and that's on the 27th at 5:03. And we're still waiting, but shortly here, you wear a crop top and you try to look nice, and then technical difficulties happen. But yeah. I hope you're staying cool out there, and I hope you figure some people don't have air conditioning, so go somewhere you can be cool and stay out of the sun, because it is Sacramento. It's humid though right now, which is weird. There's humidity, so you can't even really just stay out of the heat, but stay out of the sun, and you'll stay cooler, and that will help. We are still waiting, but let's see. We had a great interview last week with Justin Elizabeth Sayer, so you can check that out. That was episode number 60, and that was a really exciting interview for me to get to do. So check that out, and you can find that on the YouTube channel of Stab, which if you're watching YouTube right now, you know where that is. And if you're watching twitch.tv/stabcomedy, then you can just look there too, because it's also still on Twitch, although they don't host it forever, right?
I think on Twitch it eventually goes away, but it's several months worth of backlog, so that's worth checking out. But yeah, YouTube, it's pretty much there to stay.
Okay, yeah. YouTube is, I know some of the earlier episodes of this show aren't available on Twitch, but recent ones are, like the one with Justin Elizabeth Sayer and with Yaya. Another I really enjoyed the one with Deja Sky that we had. Yep, still waiting. I wish, I don't know, is anyone watching? Does anyone have any questions? I'm not even logged in to Twitch. No? Okay. Couldn't hear you but if you were here, if this show was live, we could just take audience questions, and that would be a thing we could do if we had a live audience, which I just said really redundantly. I watched Luca, the new Pixar movie. It made me very emotional. Also, they spoke Italian, which I speak a little bit of Italian. And it's a coming-of-age story, and I read a pretty negative review, and it was like, oh, it's just The Little Mermaid kind of retread. And I'm like, not really, because there's no sea witch. There's just a bully with a sweater. I don't know. It's a good watch. You guys should watch Luca. It'd be fun to, I don't know, talk about that with people. But there's no people to talk about anything with right now. I mean, you count, Jesse. But, okay, cool. We have Shay D logged in. We're just going to wait for camera ready, Shay D, I think. And then we will start our interview. Oh, thank you. My friend Rhonda says, I really rocked it at brunch today. Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you watching. And I hope these last 20 minutes haven't been 16 minutes, haven't been too boring, with me just trying to kill space and time, which I can talk a lot. But, you know, it's nice to know when you are going to need to. But I don't have to anymore because my interview guest is here. I am excited, and I appreciate them coming on a little bit early. I gave them a time that they could come on, and I was wrong on my time, so this is my fault. Don't blame anyone else but Suzette. Hashtag blame Suzette. Anyway, today's interview guest won Season 3 of the Maxx Drag Show and is a drag in-between and has a full schedule of performances ahead for the rest of the month of June. Make sure to catch them at performing in real life. We're so grateful to have them on the show today. Please welcome Shay D.
Yeah, I was about to say they froze and dropped off.
Oh, okay.
So
that was a nice intro.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be back. But yeah, I was trying to get them set up here, and it looked like they froze right in there. And hopefully connection's gonna be okay. Oh, is it gonna be one of these days?
It might be. It might be one of these days. This is one thing I'm excited to go back to, live shows with real people.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll help.
We've only had the internet drop out. Well, at least when I've been here, it's only dropped out once, I think.
Yeah. It's been. I learned the trick for our terrible internet, and I should get it replaced one of these days. But I come in every day, and like as soon as I get in here, I'll unplug and plug back in our garbage old Comcast modem, and then that seems to do all right. Anytime I don't do that, we run into an issue. So it's been proven enough for me that that's something that will help. But we need to get one of the new ones. This is one of the. It's the tall, skinny.
It's the tower-looking one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the like the old, long, tall, skinny, the black one.
Right.
They've got the nice new white, off-white, silver sort of like rectangle-y ones. That we haven't gotten yet, and we just have to upgrade a lot of things around here. Well,
I do have the Suzette Veneti Show T-shirts. Are en route to my address, and I'm gonna just. They're samples, and I'm going to see what I think and maybe make a change here or there, and then we'll sell them. All right. And once again, if you're a fan of the Suzette Veneti Show, we will have T-shirts that say Suzette Veneti Show, so you can get them, and all proceeds will go to, minus the cost, of course, or, yeah, that seems right, will go to upgrading, cameras and lights and all that, because that way we can bring you better content. So if you get a show, you're not only supporting, this show, but you're supporting the quality of the show. So I think it's a good deal. And I'm excited to have a Suzette Veneti show for myself, and for Chelsea and Clifton, and I guess David Shapiro can have them too. Okay. He's also not going to be here today. It's just one of those days. It's a hot, I don't know. We were all feeling it at brunch. It was like, ooh, it's hot. We'd like to be at home.
Yeah.
But we have Shay D back on, and we have a good connection, and I think we will have sound. Should I read the intro again, or do you think?
Yeah, I don't know that Shay got the intro. I
Okay,
think
cool.
They might have froze as you were introing. So yeah, give him the nice intro.
Okay, here's the intro for Shay D once again. Today's interview guest won Season 3 of the Maxx Drag Show and is a drag in-between and has a full schedule of performances for the rest of the month of June. Make sure to catch them out performing in real life. We're so grateful to have them on the show today. Please welcome Shay D.
Oh, hi everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Suzette.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming on a little bit early with us.
No problem.
So what have you been up to? What's the most exciting thing you've done since the pandemic ended?
Ooh, I went dancing on Wednesday at Badlands and that was so much fun. So I'm just gonna kind of enjoying myself. Aside from like having a lot of pride shows, which I'm like blessed about, but yeah.
For sure.
Just hanging out.
We were just talking about Wednesday at Badlands. It was really crowded.
Oh, it was. It was so surreal.
Did it feel weird to you to be back out in a sea of people?
Yes, definitely. Especially at first, no one was like dancing, and then one person like broke the silver, like going on the dance floor, and then everybody decided to dance. But yeah, it was very weird at first, but at the end of the night, I was just like having a good time.
I was there, and I walked across the dance floor a couple times, and no one was dancing. And I was like, look, I will start this dancing. I know someone needs to do it. If it needs to be me, I'll do it. But then it happened naturally, so.
They had to get drunk first, I feel like.
Yeah, that's what we all thought. We all were like, no, they just have to get a little bit of liquor in them, and then they'll dance. So you were the winner of Season 3 of Maxx Drag.
I am.
Yes, I guess you are still. I said you were like you were the winner and you are the winner. Sorry.
It's okay.
What does it mean to you to have won?
Oh man. Well, to me, winning was very, I wouldn't say shocking, but I didn't go in there expecting to win, honestly. I went in there actually pretty intimidated, even though it's just like digital. I'm more of a newer performer. So before the pandemic, I literally just started doing drag in September. So actually October, sorry. So a little later. So yeah, I just started doing drag and then we went into a panini. So I've been just practicing my skills and then I got invited to do the competition, which was like super challenging, but also very rewarding. So yeah, it feels very surreal to win, but I am super grateful and I love like the relationships that I got to build through the competition.
So you said you're new. You started in October, and then the pandemic started in March. So that's 5 months. Do you wish that you had had more time under your belt before the before the Maxx Drag Show? Do you feel like it hit you at the perfect spot? I mean, you won, so I'm not sure what more time would have helped with. But just personally, do you feel like looking back, it was the right timing for you? Or do you still wish you had had more time?
That's a great question, Suzette. I
Thank
feel
you.
like I wish I would have had more time in terms of stage performance. Because I feel like performing virtually versus obviously like on the stage is an entirely different thing. But other than that, I feel like it came to me at the right time, mainly because I'm a teacher, don't tell anybody, but I don't usually have time to do things. So I had like more time to do drag. So I feel like it was a good time for a virtual competition.
And you pointed out that performing live is different than performing on camera. You've performed live at least once recently in Badlands on a Sunday night. What did that feel like after having done all the virtual performances on Maxx Drag?
Oh my gosh, it's so different. I have to remember that you have to like interact with your audience. So like the difference between obviously like virtual versus in person is you have an audience there that's there to enjoy you, but it also helps when you interact with them, you know what I mean? So I was having fun with that, but I totally forgot, like especially with now that we can grab dollar bills. I was actually in Davis Pride and people had bills out, but I didn't grab them because I forgot that we can grab them now. But yeah, so the dynamics are a lot different. But to me, the energy, I really feed off the energy of like the crowd. So when I'm doing like intense numbers, it helps to have people there and not just my phone. Because most of the time in digital drag, if I'm dancing or something, all I hear is me breathing heavily and just like moving around. And it's fun, but it's not the same kind of fun. It's kind of like fun, like dancing in the shower, but not like being on stage. There's nothing like being on stage.
I agree. There is nothing like being on stage. It's amazing. I've said before, when I have someone in studio with me and they giggle or chuckle or even snicker at my jokes, it makes such a difference. Because I've been, doing this show since April of the pandemic, and that's a lot of time staring into a web camera with no one really emoting in live time with me. So it's like, I miss people. I miss an audience, at least for telling jokes. I didn't have that the whole time. So were you surprised to have won Maxx Drag season 3?
I mean, I definitely put in a lot of work, but I was surprised because my competition was like stellar. And I have this bad thing that a lot of performers have where I compare myself to other performers when you totally shouldn't, because we're all like very unique, you know what I mean? So there's not really a comparison, but for some reason we feel like we have to compare ourselves.
Well, I don't know. I agree and I disagree, if I may explore that with you.
Go ahead.
I think it helps to. I think the key for me, at least what I've always tried to do, is like, let's take Apple for instance. I make no secret of my admiration for Apple Adams. I watch Apple and I want to know how I can do what Apple does, but my version, or I'll watch Taryn and I'm nothing the performer Taryn is, and I don't mean like oh my god, I'm nothing like she is, but I mean like stylistically we're very different, but I can still watch Taryn and say, okay, how do I do that but my version? And I guess that's not comparing myself, but sometimes, whether or not we should, you're right, we do it almost as a measuring stick.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there is another thing. It is good to be inspired by other performers because most of my drag is definitely inspired by like everybody around me.
Really? Like everybody?
Yeah, like I started drag because I got inspired because I used to just be like a regular going to the shows. So I was very inspired by like Mercury Rising, also some of like the drag kings, but I'm more of an in-between. So to me, I was like, how can I do this but make it more like androgynous to where I feel more comfortable?
So you mentioned in-between. What is an in-between for people that don't know?
Ooh, well, I can't speak for everyone who categorizes themselves as that, but how I identify is just a performer that is very fluid. So sometimes I'm more masculine, sometimes I'm more feminine, or sometimes I'm more like a little bit of an in-between androgynous mix.
Okay.
So just like a dabble of identities, but in drag.
So some drag fluidity.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so sometimes you're more masculine, sometimes you're more feminine. Do you ever, and I don't mean to, I'm not sure how to phrase this, if there's a better way. So please correct me if I say something clumsily. Do you ever fully commit to going one direction or the other? And I think the word that I'm not happy with there is commit, because I'm not trying to imply that you're indecisive. I guess a better word would be, do you ever decide to take this slider and go all the way masculine or all the way feminine?
I totally have, and that's kind of more of my work that I do like within the Drag Street Boys, because I'm in like that boy band that's very like and like masculine. Some of my more king stuff is all the way to the other end, but I haven't gone full drag queen with like out a mustache. I always keep a little mustache.
Okay. And
yeah,
that's your definition and your choice of being a drag in between. Is there a reason you always keep a little mustache?
it just makes me feel it like every time I look at my face when it's done, I'm like, I feel like it needs something, and it just feels like it's more me.
The mustache.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though it's just like a little line of mascara, like lines of mascara.
No, for sure. You don't have to say what your mustache is made of. I'm just, that's so interesting. I was in a dressing room the other night, and people were saying like, which part of your makeup makes you feel like you? And so for you, it's a mustache. Still with us? Okay, we're having some lag on the connection, but super excited for Shay D's connection to come back in so we can continue talking about in-betweens. We've had Peter Fromage was a drag thing, if I remember correctly, self-described drag thing, and did some feminine and some masculine, and we've lost Shay D and gotten Shay D back. So we're just going to wait a second until we can get them on the feed, and we'll resume. So thank you for bearing with us today, audience. You're really sweet, and we're doing our best to make sure that we bring you a good show. So above me is the information for Stab Comedy Theater. If you want to support, follow, you can send some coin there. Again, we could use some new cameras and modem.
And also, just the reminder that for June, it's the SAC Center's information above us.
Oh, thank you, Jesse. Sorry, long day. The information above my head is for the SAC LGBT Center, which is also a great and worthwhile entity to donate to, because they give services and goods to people that really need it. So definitely help out the SAC LGBT Center. And it looks like we have Shay D back, sideways, but definitely back. So we will continue where we left off. So Shay D, you said you have the mustache is what makes you you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a recurring theme on this show is that there are no rules in drag. So if that's your drag, then that's your drag. And that's great. Let me ask you this though. Why is it important for more drag in-betweens to exist?
Ooh, this is a good one. So it's important so people actually know that we exist and know that respect us. Hold on, let me rephrase that. It's important that people know that more drag in-betweens exist because I feel like it gives everybody around drag in-betweens a little bit more freedom to be themselves and not be so rigid and feel like they have to be stuck in a box. Not saying that there's anything wrong with boxes that people choose, but say if you don't choose a box, and now you know that you don't have to. But actually, yesterday I was at a drag show. I had a show. It was a lot of fun. And I was performing. I did one number androgynous, and the other number was more drag king-like. And somebody walked up to me, and they were like, wow, I didn't even know drag kings existed. And that's why it's important that I feel like more people know that drag kings and in-betweens exist, because they totally will support them if they know they're out there, if they get similar opportunities and whatnot. So I think it's just important for representation, also to give other people confidence that are also maybe non-binary, or they find themselves on a spectrum of fluidity. I think it's just important to see that, especially being praised and celebrated.
Sure. That's common. I mean, I've definitely heard people be really surprised drag kings exist. It's I don't know. Maybe it's weird for me because I've been so steeped in the culture for 4 years, but it just makes sense that they would. But people always, not always, some people seem so surprised. And you're right. With more exposure comes more people doing it, comes more acceptance, comes more celebration. And that's a good thing. All those are good things. What advice would you give to a new drag artist who was contemplating between being a king or a queen or an in-between? Like they're either going to be a king or a queen depending on how they identify and what they want to present as, or they're thinking about going the in-between route. So what advice would you give them if they couldn't decide?
Ooh, I would say definitely practice and play around. Have fun, and also kind of listen to what you feel is right in terms of like choosing how you want to present yourself. Because if you're comfortable and you're being authentically you, like in drag, of course, that definitely shines to the audience and everyone like vibes with it. So definitely like practice, but also listen to what you are kind of like gravitating towards. Like if you're gravitating towards more of a king, you can do a flamboyant king. There's a lot of flamboyant kings that are not too masculine. They're more like kind of like me. I'm very more flamboyant king. I wear heels and nails and stuff, but I still wear capes. So yeah, that's my advice.
So
I don't have much good advice, honestly, because I'm still a baby, but also learn from other performers. There you go.
Well, okay, so first question. If I was going to address you with a title, would sir be correct? Because I saw on your Instagram your preferred pronouns are they, them, he, which I've never seen that. I've seen they, them, and, you know, like he, his. I've never seen they, them, he. So would I address you as sir?
Yeah, I'm totally okay with sir, or people just call me Shay. Or like when you're addressing as like a performer, you could say drag performer.
Oh, sure.
Drag thing.
I actually like saying drag artist. That's
I like
one
that
that
too.
I got that from Yaya, and I'm like, I like that because even if it's a show full of queens or a show full of kings, they're all drag artists, and that's almost a way to celebrate the artistry of what they're doing instead of just being like, oh, that's a I don't know, because some people have reverence for the term drag queen, but some people just are like, oh, it's a drag queen. But drag artist seems to elevate it to me. So
I like drag artists. It also like it kind of also skips people being misgendered, which I think is good. Like if you're not sure, you don't know what to say, it's easier to just have like a umbrella term.
right. And is it okay to? I mean, is it okay to ask what someone prefers, right? Like I asked you, like, can I address you as sir? And I was only gonna say, oh, sir, you know, you consider yourself new at what? This would be not even a year. This would be
A year and a half, I think.
a year. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, a year and a half. That's right. I forgot where we were in COVID. A year and a half. I still consider myself new at 4 years. I think 4 years is new. I think there's a really skewed perception about what's new and what's not. And I think 4 years definitely feels new, both for me in the drag world and in the comedy world. Like, I don't think it's seasoned. There's people that have been doing this 4 or 5 times longer than me that are still performing. So how could I be not new, you know?
That's how I feel.
Right. But I think your path, however you have taken it, is still definitely, if someone's interested, you know, I think you're definitely warranted in giving advice. And you've already done it really eloquently during this interview, which is to say that this is your perspective, and you can only give that, which I think is really cool of you to point out, because you're right, it is only your perspective, and that doesn't make it less or more valid, but you can only speak for yourself. So drag in-betweens, and then you said you're a king sometimes. So do you identify separately as an in-between and a king, or if someone calls you a king when you're not a king, would that be okay, or would that be like, oh no, right now they're an in between?
That is a great question to that. So I'm actually okay with being called a drag king and in between because it's on the sliding scale. The weirdest part, I guess, to me would be that I don't like being called a drag queen. I just don't. I don't see myself as a drag queen, so I don't like being addressed as one. Although obviously I have like a lot of respect for drag queens, so I'm like, ugh.
No, I get that. And I mean, I discovered the other day, I was talking to someone and they used the pronoun they for me. And I'm old and I try really hard to get everyone's pronouns right. But to me, they is a plural pronoun, and I'm doing my best to address singular entities as they them. But and I don't I like whatever anyone wants to be called, but that I think that goes the same for me. If someone calls me a they, I'm like, no, just she. Like, I'm not a they. I'm just one person. So I think it's just important, to have open communication about all that. And if somebody were to call you a drag queen, would you like try to explain to them like, oh, I'm not a queen, or would you just kind of take it and be like silly person, or like how do you handle that when someone addresses you as a drag queen?
So for the most part, honestly, just let it go because I'm a very like go with the flow kind of person. Like I'm also very intense, but I kind of pick and choose when I want to put energy into things. So like I've noticed the one time I actually corrected people, it was very exhausting for me because I had to explain the whole breakdown and I started to kind of feel like invalidated. So I feel like I pick and choose my battles, but for the most part, lately, when people call me a drag queen, they like circle back and they apologize, not a drag queen. So for the most part, a lot of people apologize, which is very nice.
Right on. That is, like I said, I think communication is really good, and apologizing if someone mischaracterizes you is that's a great part on them. What goes into preparing to be in a drag show for you?
Oh, so much, Suzette, so much. So I make a lot of my stuff except sewing. So I usually like bejewel clothes. I'm like a repurposed kind of performer. So I go to the thrift store for outfits and then I bejewel it or whatever. And then headpieces, I make the headpiece. So if it's something where I have like an outfit concept, it definitely takes like months and months to make, but outfits based on songs. So I'll pick a song that I feel like will go with the song and then I perform it. But usually a lot goes into my outfits because it's especially the ones that are in between because it's hard to find things that go together as a puzzle piece, especially when you don't sew yourself. So, yeah.
Totally. I also don't sew, so it's difficult for me sometimes.
Oh, I can't hear you. See that? There you go.
Sometimes I'll have a concept in my head, and I'm like, I don't know how to make this. I'm not even sure if I can describe this to anybody. What's the longest that you've been in drag in one day?
Ooh, longest I've been in drag for one day would definitely be when I was doing the Maxx Drag finale photo shoot. They had us do 3 outfits, and there were like 3 different themes. And it was actually my angel outfit. I did this whole body paint that took like freaking 4 hours and like body paint alone. And then I added like gold leaf and just some makeup took so long. But that's probably the longest I've been in drag. It was around like 8 hours with getting ready and then going to the physical place to shoot and trying to get the right shots. It's just like really hard.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
So how long does it normally take you to get ready to be in drag time wise? If the 4 hours was a lot, what's normal?
So what's normal to me is 2 hours on like an androgynous outfit. So it would be like 2 hours on makeup and putting things together, wigs, whatever, like this. You just put it on over your head, how I styled it. But if it's body paint, that's a whole nother game. That's like 4 hours, 5 hours. Like it just takes a long time to like blend and let things set so they don't bleed. And yeah. It takes a long time. It's not something I would do for like shows. It's definitely something I do conceptually for like just photos or virtual drag.
Sure. What's the most interesting venue that you performed in?
The most interesting venue that I've performed in? I would actually say so far it was yesterday at Folsom. I did not expect that crowd to be so welcoming, and it was very endearing. Yeah. It was also just in like a random place that I've never been. So to me, that's interesting, where there's like a little hole in the walls and you walk in, walk down the hall, walk down a hill, and there's a drag show.
Right. How did the people receive it? How did the audience receive it?
They were so nice, and everyone wanted to take a picture with me, and they were just like treated me with so much respect, and I was like, what? It was really cool.
What's the coolest thing about doing drag?
Oh my gosh, I feel like it's like being a little mini celebrity. Like I'm not conceited or anything, and usually like in my day-to-day life I'm pretty reserved as like a Scorpio person. But yeah, I feel like the coolest thing about doing drag is being able to express yourself and really kind of let go of like the day-to-day stresses of like bills and stuff in the moment, of course, and like have a good time and be celebrated. It's really fun.
What's the worst thing about drag and doing it?
The worst thing about drag is the pain. I don't think a lot of people, some people talk about the pain, but like the pain of wearing heels for a long time. I don't tuck, so I don't know what that's like, but I've heard that that is very brutal. Binding is terrible. Binding's absolutely terrible. So that's the worst thing for me is binding and like being in heels for a super long time. Obviously that gets really painful.
Right. Now, that's interesting because that's the worst part. And you could eschew the heels. You could just be an in-between. Or, I'm sorry, you could just be a king. You could say, I don't want to be an in-between anymore. But, so it's not about comfort for you. It's about the art. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to come back to that later. We talked previously, and you said that you kind of wanted to touch on something that needs to be talked about. Did you still want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you like to talk about?
So are we talking about, can you refresh my mind? And then I'm totally like open book.
Sure. I don't recall specifically what it was, but sort of, I just said, I was telling you about what I was going to ask you, and I said, there's some stuff. I think I noticed a post of yours, and I was like, oh, you have really strong feelings, and we can go into stuff that, that drag performers have strong feelings about, or we can keep it light and airy, and we don't have to go deep. So I'm sorry, I wish I remembered what it was about, but I think it was something about being a drag performer, but I don't recall what.
Okay, I think it was about the respect and the opportunities that like AFAB and drag kings and in-betweens get versus drag queens. Now, I'm not saying this to like tear apart or create any kind of divide. It's just an important conversation to like have amongst other performers and or our community.
Sure, that's fair. In what way do you feel like?
Sorry, what was that, love?
Oh, I said that's fair. In what way do you feel like AFAB performers could get more respect?
Ooh, this is a good one. So definitely by being booked as often as more drag queens are, which by the way, I want to like kind of put out like a shout out. There are performers that are lifting up those performers, and I personally just want to see more of that and not have to feel like I have to fight as hard or harder for the same opportunities. When, yeah, basically like when the efforts, I'm also like fortunate to be a part of a lot of the same drag queens. We've walked out with less paychecks. We've literally seen audience members on their phones front rowing our shows, or there's been people who have like straight up walked away. And it's really hard to kind of maintain that like security within yourself to just like keep going, but you have to, because obviously like we do it for the love of drag. Very frustrating. Expectation in betweens versus drag queens are totally different than the expectations for drag queens from our experiences, like from my experience, not ours, but yeah. So I just want to touch bases on that, talk about that.
What do you feel like the expectations are for drag queens?
I feel like based on what I've seen for the most part is a lot of them, they'll show up late, they'll cancel, and they still get bookings. And then there's kings who show up consistently in drag, or they'll be like ready, or you know, in betweens, and yeah, they don't get any bait, or they barely get bait, or they get breadcrumbed, or they get called when those performers don't show up when they should just be in the lineup.
Okay. And
in my opinion, this just my like 2 pennies.
So your connection is in and out, and I'm very interested to talk about this with you, but we're getting
I'm sorry, babe.
No, that's okay. We're getting sort of that telephone on a string thing where we're getting like every third word. What in your opinion, what can a drag artist do to deserve a booking? So you just said kings and in-betweens should get more bookings. What is it that they and I say this about queens too. I'm just curious what your thoughts are, because we've kind of talked about this on the show a lot recently. What does a drag artist of any kind need to do to get bookings? Because I think we've said on the show, just showing up isn't enough. So what do you think a drag artist does to deserve a booking?
To me, definitely prove that they have respect, they're professional, because as much as this is an art form, it's also a job for like a lot of the performers. And not only that, but you're being paid to entertain people. So it's important you have like this image. You don't have to be like perfect, but you should be professional. Obviously, like try not to be in the drama, whatever's going on kind of thing. And then also put time into your craft. I'm not saying put money in your craft. A lot of people say that, but not a lot of people have money to put into their craft. So like put time into your craft, put like effort in your craft. And those are the performers that I feel like deserve the bookings. The ones that have the passion, the ones that like are in it for the long run, or like in it through a pandemic, like that's really intense. Things like that.
Okay.
And then showing up.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that was, I guess just it can be serious or not?
I guess overall our area, I'm really proud of Sacramento, because we are definitely expanding our horizons and slowly but surely becoming more inclusive. So that's extremely nice to see. And it's also nice to see other drag artists try to keep that up and bring that to other cities like Folsom and whatnot. So yeah, those are my last words.
Right on. Well, Shay D, our connection isn't the greatest, but I wanted to see if you have a moment for some rapid fire questions.
Yeah, I have a moment.
Okay, cool. And I appreciate that as we're trying to keep that connection running and open. All right, so you can pass on any that you want to. We ask these questions of all of our guests. You know, player pass. There's no expectation for you to answer any specific way. What is a drag name that you didn't end up using?
So a drag name that I didn't end up using is fucking hilarious. It's called Head of Lettuce. That was like my first choice. I don't know why I wanted to be called. It's Head of Lettuce, like a head of lettuce.
Did you?
But that was my first one.
Did you know that there's actually a fairly famous drag queen named Head of Lettuce?
I didn't. Good thing I didn't choose it. Oh my god.
Yeah. She was in New York, and I believe she's in Puerto Vallarta right now. I've known about Head of Lettuce for a pretty long time, but that doesn't mean anyone should. I think I saw her on Project Runway, and that's where I first found Head of Lettuce. So, yeah, Head of Lettuce is already there. So by not choosing that, you definitely kept your own name, and there's not two of you.
That's true.
What's your favorite wig color?
My favorite wig color so far, I'm like barely exploring the wigs. I'm getting into it, but I definitely love blue and purple, but blue.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not in a position to say anything bad about purple hair at the moment. So, now, as a drag in-between, I would not ask this question of a king, and you said sometimes you're a king, but also you're an in-between. So I do have a bra question that I ask all my guests who wear bras. And if you want to pass, again, you can pass. But when you put on a bra, do you snap it in front and spin it around? Or do you snap it in back with weird, unnatural arms?
Neither. I always wear sports bras. Sports bras are the way to go. So I just go over the head.
Okay, over the head
Or
sports
binders.
bra. Or binders. Right on. That makes sense. How high? Now you do wear heels, so I'm going to ask you about heels. How high is too high for high heels?
Ooh, I feel like it depends on the performer. It depends on the performer and what you're trying to do. To me, biggest I'll go right now is 8 inches in my pleasers. That's my cutoff because I'm getting a little wobbly at 8 inches, so I don't want to go higher. But yeah, I feel like it depends on the performer and what you're trying to do. If you're trying to dance and you're not like comfortable in those kind of shoes, then I definitely suggest going lower because it'll look better as a performance standpoint if you're comfortable versus if you're like just fashionable if you can't like walk in them.
Right on. Do you have a favorite show to perform in?
My favorite show to perform in was actually After Hours, which is where I came from. It was a show that Apple created.
Yes, we've talked about After Hours a lot on this show because it's where I started too. It's where a lot of people in Sacramento in the drag scene have started. Do you have a favorite venue to perform in?
I would say my home bar, Badlands, is straight up my favorite venue. It's always a blast at Badlands.
Right on. What's the funniest thing an audience member has ever said to you after a show?
Let me see. Before quarantine, one person came up to me and they were very shocked that I wasn't like a biological man. I guess in one of like my in-between numbers, they thought I was like a man dressed as a woman, but I'm actually like a AFAB person dressed as someone who is pretending to be like a drag queen. It was very interesting.
So in that number, you were trying to be an AFAB person dressed as a drag queen.
Yes. So I was more like claiming queen. It was to the song called "Like a Girl" by Lizzo. So it was very like feminist like. So yeah, I was basically not making fun of a drag queen, but like playing on those tropes of like being pretty, walking out and posing and just things like that. And they thought I was like a little gay boy in drag, which I thought was funny because that's how he feels sometimes. But
did you have your mustache that time?
I actually didn't have my mustache on that one.
Oh, okay.
I know.
So then kind of you have done, I don't want to say you've done full queen because you said you didn't earlier, but so there is a performance that you have in your history where you were almost the slider all the way to the queen.
It was pretty close. It was like an untucked queen.
Okay.
Because I had a jock strap on.
And they thought you were a man dressed as a woman.
Yeah, they said that they thought I was like hot, even though I had my dick out, but it wasn't like a real dick. It was a jock strap.
Okay.
It was very funny.
Well, right on. That is a compliment to get.
It is. I was actually like really flattered. I was like, thank you so much.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite song to perform to?
Ooh, Guy by Lady Gaga is my favorite song to perform.
Okay. Who's your favorite LGBTQ activist?
Ooh, oh my gosh, that's so hard. I can't pick a favorite, Suzette.
You can.
I'll say all of them.
Okay, all of them. Do you want to name a couple?
Let me think. So there's definitely Harvey Milk. He's cool. He's a cool guy. Trying to think of other ones. That's the only name that comes to mind right now. But I definitely respect everybody who has paved the way for us, obviously.
Oh, for sure. And you can't list everybody. So Harvey Milk's a great answer. Not a shabby answer at all. Do you have a favorite item on the gay agenda?
What does that mean?
Sure. So sometimes when I ask that question, people answer with a joke. Like they'll say, "Oh, day drinking," or glitter, or crop tops, stuff like that. Sometimes lately especially, they'll give me a really serious answer. But obviously the gay agenda is the phrase is rooted in sort of conservative people saying that there's a gay agenda where there's like a central office of gays to be like, oh, this is the memo of the day, and here's what's on the agenda. But if you kind of take it tongue in cheek, you can kind of laugh at it, or you can say, no, there is a gay agenda, and it's making sure that people feel seen if they're an in-between because they didn't know they could be.
I like that. I guess I would totally say that that's the gay agenda.
Okay.
Is to just be free. That's my gay agenda.
To be free.
Not be judged. Yeah.
Free of judgment. Okay.
I mean, people are going to judge you regardless, but to feel free.
Okay. I'm not sure what the connection sounds like on the feed out, but we're doing our best, and that I heard everything you said. It was just about 14 seconds long. Which do you think the COVID-19 pandemic has affected more, the straight dating scene or the gay dating scene?
Ooh, I feel like it honestly depends on how people quarantined.
Oh.
But I would say, theoretically, I feel like it may have affected the gay dating scene a lot in terms of like Tinder and stuff. Now I'm like extremely rusty because I'm in like a monogamous relationship, so I haven't like been in the market, but I feel like a lot of people in that affected that.
Okay. Do you have a favorite position to imagine straight people having sex in?
No, no,
Okay.
not at all.
Fair. Fair. Do you want to disclose your favorite position?
We'll say, ooh, I love 69. That's a fun one when you can reach.
That can
yeah,
be,
that's my
yeah,
favorite one.
that can be a challenge sometimes to reach. Not as big a factor with some other positions, but what's your favorite thing about the existence of brunch?
Ooh, the existence of brunch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as a spectator, having somewhere to go and day drink is fun. As a performer, performing in the daytime is so different than performing at nighttime, but it still has this perks of like giving you that little energy boost during the day. I feel like, to me, every time I leave a show, I'm like wired. I'm like, let's go.
I like how much of a performer you are. It could have just been brunch. It could have been brunch without the drag show. It could have just been a regular old brunch at a restaurant where there's no entertainment. But you went right to drag brunch. Do you cook or bake?
I don't cook at all. I'm one of those guys that I can't functionally like cook. I like burn shit all the time. My partner is so sweet, always makes the home cooked meals. God bless them, but I don't cook.
Okay. Well, your partner is not one of those gays.
Yeah.
They're one of those cooking gays. DC or Marvel?
Ooh, Marvel.
Yes. Okay. Do you have a favorite character?
Favorite character? No.
Okay.
But I love what they put out, especially with the Avengers and all that. So cool.
Right on. If we are at the bar after a show and someone's buying us drinks, what are we drinking?
Margaritas is my go-to. Can never go wrong with margarita.
I think you can. You can have mine. If we're at the bar and someone buys us margaritas, I'm gonna say, "Here you go, Shay D. You have two." If someone's gonna buy us shots, if they see me being a bougie bitch and they're like, "Oh, you don't like margaritas? I'll buy you shots." What are we shooting?
Ooh, Hennessy. Sure to have a good time.
Okay. Toilet paper, over or under?
Ooh, over.
Yes. Okay. Good. Good.
Not under. Who does it under? What kind of witchcraft?
A lot of people do under, actually. It's disconcerting, and then there's even a faction of people that don't care, which is very stressful to me, that they just don't care. Like, I feel like you have to care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite comedian?
A favorite comedian?
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, it was Jim Carrey. He's very like in between, but yeah, Jim Carrey was one of my favorites.
Do you have a favorite drag
So
queen?
he's more of an actor now. My favorite drag queen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Alyssa Edwards, my favorite, hands down.
Okay. Do you have a favorite drag king?
Landon Sider.
Okay.
My favorite, hands down.
Do you have a favorite drag in between?
Ooh, you know what? No, I actually don't, because I don't know a lot of in betweens. I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
wait, hold on. Actually, I do. Blair Witch.
okay. Blair Witch. Right on. Do you have, this one's completely self-interested. Do you have a favorite drag princess?
I didn't know that there's a drag princesses were a thing.
Oh, no.
So no.
They are. They're rare.
Really?
They're rare.
Huh.
Yeah.
What does that consist of, Suzette?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Pretty much. Yeah, me. Chichi Rodriguez, from Tu Wong Fu, and I think that's it. That's all the drag princesses I've ever heard of. Yeah, I used to ask people what they were most excited to do when the pandemic was over, but now the pandemic is over. So I'll just ask you where people can find you next.
Oh, so people can find me actually next week, Friday, at Fridays Are Drag Badlands. I'll be doing a show. So that's my next show. I'm excited. Yeah, that's where you guys can find me next. The other shows are posted on my page, on my Instagram, Shay D official.
Oh yeah.
Underscores in between.
That should actually be, that's probably below you in your feed right now. So we got you. Anyhow, Shay D, that's all the questions I have. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun today.
Thank you. Go out there and get some more in-betweens to exist. And we're rooting for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.
Take care. Take it easy, Suzette.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, boys and girls, that was Shay D. I should say boys, girls, and in-betweens. That was Shay D, the Season 3 winner of Maxx Drag. And you can find Shay D on Instagram, and that's where you can find all the dates for live events that Shay D is part of. So go check it out, because you definitely don't want to miss Shay D performing. And with no Shapiro, that's the show for today. Quick one. But join us next week on the 27th when I interview Emma Haney. So for today, thank you to Jesse and Stab. Thank you to Shay D for the interview. And that's it. Have a good week.
The city's your playground. I watch you take a bite. At 5 a.m. roaming the streets, drunk all night. You think you're hot shit, and ooh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, yeah. Stumbling, but yeah, you're still looking hella fun. Keep doing what you do, and I'ma make you mine. You're a hot mess, and I'm falling for you, and I'm like hot.